Hello, welcome to the Smarketing Show. We've got some real athletes on today, and one in particular, we're going to interview former NHL great Dwayne Hay, who now helps tomorrow's NHL superstars rethink their game, improve themselves, and get to another level. And Cheryl, I don't think a lot of our viewers may know that you were a professional figure skater at one time. Hey, I was drafted to the NHL, but I didn't make it. Maybe that's why I'm co-hosting the Smarketing Show today.
Hey, I take offense to that.
Dwayne Hay, you did make it to the NHL. And, as we talked about off camera, there's a lot of similarities, I believe, between great athletes and champions and what happens in business. So thanks so much for joining us today. Maybe you could let us know what you're doing at the Dwayne Hay Elite Hockey Academy with young people to make them, champions as best they can be.
Yeah, for sure. Well, not much these days because we're at strange times in society, but I'm definitely doing a lot on the outdoor side of things, with us going through the COVID stages here, lots with inline. Everything that's on ice is transferable to off ice. Obviously there's a dry land component. You can do that on foot as well. And then there's the strength side of things as well. And, probably more importantly than anything, we're working on the young people and just keeping them busy.
Mm-hmm. I'm sporting the gear today, Dwayne.
I like it.
This is the tagline, do the work. And I mentioned this because Dwayne actually has done some coaching with my son, and he does that. He develops and mentors players from ages 6 all the way up to the NHL. Your career is pretty extensive. So, you played in the OHL for Guelph Storm, 1997 World Junior gold medalist, and then a former NHL player, played for Washington, Tampa Bay, Florida, Calgary. So my first question for you, Dwayne, is behind every successful athlete or business leader, there's always a role model or a mentor. So for you, who was that, and how was that instrumental in your success?
I think, like most hockey players, you'll speak of your parents, and in my case, my dad. Grew up playing a variety of sports himself, never excelled enough to go on, as a professional or anything, through the years, but certainly gave me my work ethic and the understanding of the hours and time spent, hence the hat and the do the work slogan, pretty much my bread and butter all the way throughout. And there's no question that my father was my first mentor, coach, and promoter of like what it takes to actually succeed in sport.
Well, your dad must be a great guy, and I'm sure you got a great infrastructure to have accomplished what you have. Dwayne, I've sat in many dressing rooms and been told, hey, the game's played between the ears, and I think that applies to business as well. I'm just wondering, as a professional athlete, what do you think of the concept of really, the mental state of the athlete or business person in terms of the game being played between the ears?
Yeah, I mean, you hear some of the cliches, I guess, that maybe it's probably 80% or better of the game, between the years, like you said there. And for me, I think if you feel good about the person and you're clear in your mind of like your direction and what you're doing, and you feel good about yourself, I think that's the foundation of the house, and really tough to build without that. So, I spoke of like working on the young people and the personalities, and even the life skills side of things or on the early stages of the training, because that's our foundation going forward. So I think once you start to feel yourself and feel good, that I think your possibilities are really endless. That's where the athletes can take over with their natural abilities. And then, of course, I put the plan in place with direction and what type of player and what their needs are. So always 10 times out of 10 times, we're gonna build the mind first, believe, some self-belief, believe in yourself, what you're doing, worry about your process. I always talk about the five percentile, trying to be in that, first in the mindset, and then work towards that in all the skill areas as well.
Mm. And building on that, Dwayne, when we did dry land training with the kids and some of Oliver's hockey team, you always go over and over something and you say, self-talk, boys, you need to self-talk. And it's interesting because it's true. And I actually see Oliver still applying that today. First of all, what is that when you say self-talk? And then second, why do you think that that's so essential in developing these skills at a young age?
Yeah, I think, it's something that I heard from some of my mentors through the years, talk yourself through the drill, talk yourself through the process. So my big thing is, I say, if you think it, you'll do it. As much as they're talking themselves through the wording of what they're trying to execute, you're also developing a voice. And I always tell the kids too, I like, not in a bad way, but be heard, be seen. And whether that be calling for pucks on the ice, or being able to communicate with your teammates or line mates, or coaching staff or mentors through the way, it's just a great life skill to have. And I find I use it all the time. I find I'm talking to myself, walking around all the time, sometimes out loud, sometimes in my mind. I find it's actually twice as effective if you're actually saying it out loud. And that's just something that I see with the kids. As soon as they implement that, especially verbally out loud, they're quicker with their reactions of the drills. And it goes back to the, if you think it, you'll do it.
Hey, Dwayne, just so you know, when you get older, okay, because you haven't been out of the game that long, you start answering your own self-talk. That's when you know you're really in trouble, just so you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, as a player, my confidence went up and down, and, you played for some awesome coaches. I looked at your background, whether it be a hockey coach or a business leader. Do you have any suggestions that you saw as an NHL guy to instill confidence quickly in a player? Like, so if you're a sales manager, business leader, again, I think there's principles that transfer. So what might you suggest if you're working with a young player or a young sales rep or whatever, to get them, the game between the ears in a positive state quickly?
It goes back a little bit to the self-talk, just differently. So you're not executing a drill, but maybe, I believe in myself, saying things like that. I believe in my process. I'm doing the right things. I think, like, when you reiterate those things to yourself, there's a solidarity there that you're going in the right direction. I think it's a pretty simple skill. I just think it's super underutilized. And for me, I also try then, like, not to overthink what you're doing. If it feels good to you, keep pushing on. If not, then let's do something to shift it. And then I'm there obviously to assist them along the way as well. Being a mentor and seeing what they're good at and their direction, I can quickly make those shifts and say, what, we need to more utilize this skill area, or work on, a little bit of an area that we need to lift up that might be holding them back at a particular time. But it's very team concept, and that's always been a big part of my life. Always played team sports and stuff, and that's what we're doing in the tandem small groups or team training as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've represented our country, right, as a hockey player. So, one thing, when I went to these coaching clinics to coach young people, there's one thing that really stuck with me, Cheryl, and they said, catch the player doing something right. And I think a lot of times as a coach, we look for something that we need to correct, but at a young age, and maybe a young business person, celebrate the good things they're doing. Don't just look always for correctable things. Sorry, I just wanted to chip in. Good points there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So before we wrap up, and this is so good, I could, have lots of questions, but some of the greatest success stories in life are people that have failed multiple times. We've seen that over and over. That's a trend. So this notion that we can't fear failure, and removing that fear, is what actually leads people to success. So Dwayne, has this been true for you in your experience? And how do you pass that life lesson down to the kids that you're coaching?
Yeah, like 100%. I mean, there's maybe not so much in the younger years of minor hockey and whatnot, but certainly when you get into the junior ranks and the younger amateur stuff, that's the next stepping stone to the ultimate goal of playing in the National Hockey League. Is you're playing against older players and stuff. I mean, I hadn't been ever cut from a team until I got to the NHL, and then I was cut from a team. I'm like, I don't even know what to do with this. But that's where some of the failures started to happen, as much as the successes were. And I was inching forward. There was a few years that I was not on the roster to start the season, and you had to go back to junior and work on your game, and grow a little bit more mature as a player physically, and definitely on the mental side of the game. I think that's something you find along the ways, is that in my era, at least, the players were older. They had such a big mental edge on you, and experience and years, and even physical strength and stuff. The failures came, and with me, that I think it's just all about how you shift in mindset. And for me, it was just, I was kind of more peeved off that, the situation was that, and I wasn't ultimately getting my goal at the particular time. And, that goes back to my mentor of my father and stuff, is just, dig in more and use maybe that anger or your disappointments at the particular time to fuel, into your training. So whether it's via extra reps or extra time spent on your craft. But when I speak to the kids now and stuff, I said, I tell them I was willing to try thousands of times. And as long as you got up, one more time, to reboot yourself and retry, that's where the real stuff starts to happen and the successes start to come. So it's just the willingness and the vulnerability we talk about, which I think is really hard with everybody. But I think this era of kids, they do really well with things all laid out for them. But when there's a little bit of hard, they definitely need good guidance as far as, to reinvest, get back in there. I say gravitate to the hard. It's always led me to the best places in my life when there was the biggest fear and the best chance for failure, perhaps, to initially start. Those were always the things that when I did have successes and reached my goal, made my life better. So I constantly tried to teach the kids and, trying to self-motivate myself to still be doing, gravitate to the hard, and, it's okay to fall once and just pick yourself up off the pavement and let's go again.
Mhm.
Hey, good points that apply. Exactly. It's not how you go down, it's how you get back up, right? Hey, Dwayne,
100%.
selfishly, you've played with some great players. What might be 2 or 3 qualities, I know I'm catching you cold here, that separates the elite ones, we'll call it, from the journeyman, if I may call it? And then my last question might be, can you share a dressing room pep talk story that a coach delivered to a team? So what are the top qualities you've seen that separates the elite ones? And then secondly, maybe a quick dressing room story to close it out.
Yeah, I think, the ones that they say the average pro career in hockey anyways is, your first entry level contract or lesser, so 3 years or less. And I think that, you have that opportunity at a springboard of the first contract to kind of prove yourself. And I think that there's a variety of things that are going on there. You see a lot of guys with a lot of talent, and I can even speak from experience for sure. Natural gifted wise, there were some guys that never played National Hockey League games, that I came through with, and I feel like that you just really have to have the package. You have to be, trying to be a good, Samaritan in person first. You have to be a good teammate. It's a team game. I don't think there's any room in the game anymore for just a superstar that's just, selfish and self-centered. And I think maybe there is a little bit more when teams are winning and whatnot, but not so much if things get a little bit hard. Everybody starts to point the finger and look at those guys like that's not a recipe for success. So I think you have to have the work ethic. Obviously, you have to have a certain degree of, natural gift, but it's just a constant reinvestment to keep training hard, represent yourself well as a teammate, willing to put your personal goals and successes aside sometimes for the betterment of that, the championship trophy. And I think that those are things that, for me, I tried to pride myself on, when I go to the rink every day, what do they know they're getting from Dwayne Hay? And first, it was work ethic for me, a willingness to battle for your teammates, protect and stand up for them when you needed to. And I definitely was a person that was willing to sacrifice individual goals and glory for, the ultimate goal. And one good example while I have you here is just with World Juniors. I mean, everybody's the best player where they come from. And we all have to go with a common goal to win a gold medal. And, you have to check your ego at the door with that team because, there's players that are better than you in certain situations and whatnot. And, you go back to your junior team and you have the glory and you're kind of the go-to guy again. But when you go there, it's about a country and a common goal, and guys that don't like each other coming together over a 3-week, 4-week period of time. And, for the ultimate goal of having a gold medal around your neck at the end of the day. And, I think that, we had a team, a Ledgepale gang that was, able to do that, during my time with that. And, I think that just something I carried on through my pro hockey career, which gave me an opportunity to have 12 years.
Awesome. So is there just, again, is there a quick, that's a great story. I mean, it's so applicable, Cheryl, what he's talking about in business. And I think some people don't. Hey, is there a quick quote or saying that a coach said that stuck with you in the dressing room? Like, guys, we gotta, or a team, we gotta, anything that.
There's lots that probably can't go on the record here, but I'll share one that I resonated with me, is just that, Craig Hartsburg, he was a great defenseman in the NHL for a long time. He actually played with that, Canada Cup team with Gretzky and Lemieux and all the great ones there in '87 when they beat the Russians and stuff. And he was my first junior coach in Guelph. And, he spoke modestly all the time about how important family name is, representation of, the name that is on the back of your jersey. And I know a lot of coaches go away from that. It's not about the name on the back, it's about the crest on the front, but it is also about the name on the back as far as representing and paying back the people that made ultimate sacrifices for you to have the opportunities that you had. And he spoke of that the best way that you can pay them back, is to go out there and be selfless and be a good team guy and, give 100% to every game and be resilient and be a winner and be a champion in the community. And so that's something that resonated always with me, is that I know a lot of people say it's not about the name on the back, but I think it's equally about the crest on the front and the name on the back. And when you get to don your family's last name on the back of a jersey, then there's lots of ways you can go out there and represent them and make sure that you're paying back for all the sacrifices over the years.
What a great story. Thanks for sharing that. I've heard awesome things from parents, by the way, about your Dwayne Hay Elite Hockey Academy, just that you train not just the skills, but the person. So congrats on what you're doing. And thank you for helping so many of tomorrow's NHL superstars, I'm sure, coming out of your program. So thanks again for joining us today, buddy.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Dwayne. It was so great to see you. For more information, you can visit dwaynehay.com, and don't forget, do the work. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next week on the Smarketing Show.
Do the work. Do the work.
Absolutely.